We've got a better tune up our transmitter, believe me. No? Well, wait till you listen to the stuff that this guy's going to play. Geoff Barker, good evening.
Good evening, John. How's things with you?
Yeah, really good, mate. Really great lunch today. Good weather. I mean, I should have been doing some on the roof.
The rumours have all gone round.
Yeah, they have. They have. I didn't try and drink the bar dry either. There's no truth in that, honestly. But no, it was really nice. Out with the family and friends, and it was nice. It's something I haven't done for a long time. So I usually come in here around about sort of 2:00 on a Sunday, but no, a little bit later today.
Oh, well, never mind. We haven't been able to do these things for quite a while, so there we are. You go for it.
I certainly will. And what a great choice of tracks you've got this evening.
Yes, well, it's Sir Cliff's birthday on Wednesday, of course. Can you believe he's going to be 80? It's amazing, isn't it, really, when you think about it?
Wow.
But, and he's still looking great. He's got a new album out and he's sounding good, but I'm going to be playing some classic tracks from Cliff. And also, sadly, these things link in. The death earlier this week of a guy who played bass in His Shadows in 1962 and 63, Brian Licorice Locking. He actually took over from Jet Harris, and he didn't only play for Cliff, he played for other people as well, including the great Eddie Cochran when he came to the UK in 1960. So got half a dozen tracks tonight, all of which feature Brian on bass. But let's kick off with one for Cliff's birthday. 80 on Wednesday, and this is a great track which they used to do in their stage act. It reached number 2 in 1962, Cliff and the Shadows with Brian Licorice Locking on bass and Do You Want to Dance? Cliff and the Shadows and Do You Want to Dance, number 2 in 1962, originally hit in America in 1958 by a guy called Bobby Freeman for Cliff's birthday. Another one from him coming up later on, and all the tracks tonight featuring the bass playing of the late, great Brian Licorice Locking, who passed away earlier this week. Before he was with Cliff, Brian was very much at the start of British rock and roll. He lived in Grantham, was born up there, and teamed up with another Granthamite, if you can use that word, a guy called Vince Eager. They came down to Britain and joined the sort of burgeoning skiffle community that was going on at this Two Eyes Coffee Bar and Scoffy, I suppose, skiffle and coffee, yeah, right, in London town. Then he teamed up with a guy called Vince Taylor, and played on one of the great British rock and roll records. It's never a hit, but it has achieved cult status over the years. Fantastic track. So here's Vince Taylor and the Playboys, as they were, with Licorice Locking on bass and Brand New Cadillac.
coming back. I said, baby, 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 won't you listen to me? Come on, sugar, come on, hear my plea. Well, she looked at me, boy, oh, we'll never agree. Cadillac car, oh yeah. Well, the caddy's rolling, rolling about 95. Ooh, the caddy's rolling, rolling about 95. Well, me and my boy were right by her side. I said, baby, 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 won't you listen to me? Come on, baby, come on, hear my plea. Turn that big car around, come on back to me. Hang it on, Scotty, here we go. Well, my baby took off in a brand new Cadillac. Ooh, my baby took off in a brand new Cadillac. Well, she looked at me, daddy, I ain't ever coming back. 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 Cadillac car, daddy. Oh, yeah.
Fantastic slab of original British rock and roll from 1959. Vince Taylor and the Playboys, brand new Cadillac. Licorice Locking on bass. And another guy was later in the Shadows. Brian Bennett was playing drums on that. As I said, never a hit, but what a great, great track. After that, Brian joined Marty Wilde's band, the Wildcats. Yeah, Kim's dad, who's, interestingly enough, just had his 80th birthday, and he's got a new album out as well. But this was a great big hit, top 10 in early 1960, with Brian on bass, Marty, the Wildcats, and Bad Boy.
All the people down the street, whoever you meet, say I'm a bad boy. Say I'm a bad boy. Say I'm a bad boy. Even dear old dad, when he gets mad, says I'm a bad boy. Says I'm a bad boy. Says I'm a bad boy. Well, you see, now I've got a girl, and we stay out late almost every night. Well, the people just stare and they declare, well, well, it just ain't right. But if only they knew how I love you, they'd say a bad boy could be a good boy who's just in love. See, now I've got a girl, and we stay out late almost every night. Well, the people just stare and they declare, well, well, it just ain't right. But if only they knew how I love you, they'd say a bad boy could be a good boy who's just in love. So much in love, so crazy.
BBC Radio Guernsey, BBC Radio Jersey, live on a Sunday night. This is Geoff Barker with John Randall and a bit of a rock and roll interlude. Marty Wilde and the Wildcats and Bad Boy, which Marty wrote. I'm sure he was very pleased to, because it was a great big hit for him in 1960 with Brian Licorice Locking on bass, as said, sadly passed away earlier this week. I interviewed Brian about 10 years ago because he played with the great Eddie Cochran. When Eddie came to Britain, he didn't bring his own band with him from the USA. He played with some of the best musicians around at the time, which were Marty's band. He loaned his band to Eddie Cochran for the tour that lasted about 3 months and for various radio sessions that he did for the BBC, of course, including this one. I remember Brian Locking telling me that how in awe all the British musicians were of Eddie, because Eddie Cochran was so talented, played guitar, drums, bass, the lot. And he brought over his amazing Gretsch guitar, which you could not buy in the UK then. If you've seen pictures of Eddie, great big giant orange guitar with a G written on the body. And Brian said they remember when Eddie opened the case and they just sort of looked at it and their eyes nearly popped out. And they did a bunch of sessions for the BBC for Brian Matthews' Saturday Club. And here's a track from one of those from March the 5th, to be precise, 1960. And Licorice playing a great bit of driving bass on this. Eddie Cochran with Marty's Wildcats and Something Else.
Oh, look at that. Here she comes. Here comes that girl again. Wanted to date her since I don't know when. But she don't notice me when I pass. She goes with all the guys from out of my class. That can't stop me from thinking to myself. She's sure fine looking, man. She's something else. Oh, look at that. Across the street. There's a car made just for me. To own that car would be a luxury. But right now I can't afford the gas. A brand new convertible is out of my class. But that can't stop me from thinking to myself. That car's fine looking, man. It's something else. Oh, look at here. Just wait and see. Work hard and save my dough. I'll buy that car that I've been wanting so. Get me that girl to move her riding around. We'll look real sharp with a white top down. Keep right on a dreaming and a thinking to myself. When it all comes true, man, wow, that's something else. Oh, look at here. What's all this? Never thought I'd do this before, but here I am knocking on the door. My car's out front and it's all mine. Just a 41 Ford, not a 59. I got that girl and I'm thinking to myself, she's sure fine looking, man. Wow, she's something else.
Imagine what it must have been like for those young British musicians. All of a sudden, one of the great American rock and roll stars, who was only 21 himself, comes to the UK and they're touring with him and backing him on the BBC on sessions like that. Eddie with the Wildcats and Licorice on bass and something else. Eddie did a big concert, part of the thing the NME used to organise every year, the Poll Winners Concert in 1960 in front of 10,000 odd people in Wembley Arena. And there's some great photos of Eddie with the band, including Licorice on bass, from that particular event. Just great stuff. Right, let's play another one for Cliff's birthday. His 80th coming up on Wednesday again. Licorice on bass. And there's another dancing type trap, and this was from the movie Summer Holiday from 1963. Hugely successful film, which Licorice was in because the Shads were in it as well. And he also appeared in Wonderful Life, which is the movie that came along afterwards. But from the movie Summer Holiday, not the title track, Cliff and the Shadows and Dancing Shoes.
You must have heard of a little Bo Peep. She was the gal with all the sheep. Well, one day it's sad to say, the sheep all ran away. She was lonely and she was blue. She was sad and crying too. So I told her what to do. I said, put on your dancing shoes. 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 And dance away your blues. Yeah. A friend of mine had an accident. Laughed so hard off the wall he went. Humpty Dumpty was his name. I guess you've heard the same. He was lying on the ground, bits and pieces all around. So I told him what to do. I said, put on your dancing shoes. Put on your dancing shoes. Put on your dancing shoes. Put on your dancing shoes and dance away your blues. Yeah, I'm sure you know about Jack and Jill. They're the ones that went up the hill. Jack fell down and broke his crown. Jill came tumbling after. What a noise their crying made. It was a ringing through the glade. So I told them what to do, and I changed their tears to laughter. Put on your dancing shoes. Put on your dancing shoes. Put on your dancing shoes. And dance away your blues. Put on your dancing shoes. Put on your dancing shoes. Put on your dancing shoes.
Cliff and the Shadows and Dancing Shoes in 1963, and another problem, victim of eventuality of COVID, I suppose, was the 80th birthday, musically wise anyway, celebrations for Cliff this year. Was going to be a big concert, Albert Hall and all the rest of it, and some dates all over the country. Sadly, that's not going to happen. It's all been put back a year. But he's still looking great. He's got a new album out, which I think I mentioned earlier. If I didn't, it's called The Air That I Breathe, which is the title track of it. And he's done a great version of that Hollies song on there. But there was Dancing Shoes with Brian Licorice Locking on bass. And I thought we'd close with one. It was a great, wonderful Shadows tune. Not a rocker at all, but a beautiful, beautiful, not really a ballad because there's no words, but it's a nice slow tune. One of the many big Shadows hits that Licorice played on. This got to number 2 in the summer of '63. Written by a guy called Jerry Lorden, who penned their first hit, Apache. And just a little bit of a statistic, between December '62 and mid-'63, Licorice Locking, with part of the Shadows, he played on 4 British number ones for them and also with Cliff. But anyway, here he is with the Shads, and I just love this. Bought it when it came out. Atlantis. Well, I don't know what you think, John, but to me that is the absolute epitome of the Shadows sound, that impeccable production. Just sounded great, didn't it? Atlantic,
Just fabulous, really good. I'm still singing Dancing Shoes to myself at the moment because it's been a long, long time since I've heard that one. I'm thinking, yeah, my grandson would like that. He certainly would, yeah. Oh, what a great collection. Now, his birthday is on Wednesday, you were saying, Geoff, yeah?
Yeah, he's going to be 80 on Wednesday, Sir Cliff.
And, of course, he had a big connection with Guernsey for many years. He loved coming over with the Christian Crusade group.
Yes, of course.
Early 60s, and spent a lot of time where a friend of yours lived, I believe we said last week, in Herm.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, she was there. Yeah.
Just
Lovely little place. I never got there myself. It's one of my ambitions. I've been to the islands, but never get to Herm. But
I'll get you to
great.
Herm.
She loved it.
I'll get you to
She spent
Sark.
her childhood was there, you know.
Yeah, it's just
What
a
were you saying?
fabulous...
Get me over?
I'm going to get you over. I'm going to get you to Herm. I'm going to get you to Sark. You're going to do this show in here one day with me.
That's a definite.
That is, without a doubt.
Wonderful.
Geoff, I can listen to you all night, mate, but I've got a stream of requests to play. So we'll touch base in 2 weeks, but I'll contact you in the week. All right?
Yes, indeed. Okay, thanks, John. Have a good break and, just stay safe and you at home as well, and I'll see you soon.
Geoff, thank you very much.
Yeah, so Cliff is 80 on Wednesday, so we're marking that with the 6 songs tonight. But also, it's sadly ironic, we just got the news earlier on this week of the death of a guy who played bass in the Shadows. He took over from Jet Harris. He was there between early 62 and late 1963. Great bass player, lovely guy as well. His name is Brian Licorice Locking. Got the name Licorice because he used to play a clarinet, which in jazz and big band fraternity was known as a licorice stick. So I thought, well, we'll play some tracks for Cliff's birthday and also some of the other tracks with Cliff and other people that Brian played on, Brian Locking. So let's kick off with a great Cliff and the Shads rocker. This was number 2 in 1962. Cliff and the Shadows with Brian on bass and It'll Be Me.
If you hear somebody knocking on your door, if you see somebody crawling across the floor, baby, it'll be me. Yeah, I'll be looking for you. Well, if you see somebody climbing up a telegraph pole, if you find a new lump in your sugar bowl, baby, it'll be me. Yeah, I'll be looking for you. I'm gonna search in the mountain, down in the deep blue sea. I'm gonna search the countryside and look at every tree. If you find a new bait on your fishing hook, if you find a funny face in your comic book, baby, it'll be me. Yeah, I'll be looking for you. Keep on looking now. The city where the lights are blue. I'm gonna search in the forest and the haystacks too. If you see something shooting out across the stars, if you see a rocket ship on its way to Mars, baby, it'll be me. Yeah, I'll be looking for you. Yeah, I'll be looking for you. I'll be looking for you.
For Cliff's 80th on Wednesday, and remembering Brian Licorice Locking who played bass on it, Cliff and the Shads and It'll Be Me. Written by a man who was a very key figure in the Sun Records store in Memphis, Tennessee, the label where Johnny Cash and Carl Perkins and Elvis and Jerry Lee all started out. His name was Jack Clement. He wrote that song, and Jerry Lee first recorded it at Sun Records in 1957. Remembering Cliff's birthday, Sir Cliff, on Wednesday, but also the passing this week of Brian Licorice Locking, who was in Cliff's Shadows between early 62 and early 63. And I said don't call in, it's just for fun teaser across our little gap then, saying that when Eddie Cochran came to Britain in 1960, Marty Wilde's band, the Wildcats, who Licorice played bass for at the time, backed Eddie on his UK tour, including some BBC sessions, and I'm going to play a track in a moment. And I said one of them was an iconic Ray Charles song, which after Eddie went back to America, he introduced Ray Charles and this song to just about everybody, and every band was doing it. It had a very iconic start to it, which has been done thousands of times since. As soon as you hear it, you know what it is. The Ray Charles song in question was "And Well Done to Val Sharman in Godalming." Now that's interesting because my wife, Anne, was a Sharman, and she came from Surrey as well. Not Godalming, but not far away in Kingston. Distant relative, maybe, Val? I don't know. I'm going to have to ask her. Anyway, the iconic Ray Charles song is this one. Eddie with the Wildcats, Licorice on bass, and What'd I Say?
Don't you do me wrong. Come and love your daddy all night long. Oh, yes, ma'am. You don't do right. You don't do right. Yeah, yeah. Tell your mama, tell your pa, gonna send you back to Arkansas. Oh, yes, ma'am. You don't do right. Don't do right. Yeah, yeah. See the gal with a diamond ring really knows how to shake that thing. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Tell your pa, gonna send you back to Arkansas. Oh, yes, ma'am. You don't do right. You don't do right. Yeah, yeah. See the gal with a diamond ring really knows how to shake that thing. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. The gal with a red dress on, she can do the birdland all night long. Oh, yes, ma'am. What I say, yeah, yeah. Tell me what I say, 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 tell me what I say.
Eddie Cochran with Marty Wilde's Wildcats, Brian Licorice Locking, the late, sadly, Brian Licorice Locking on bass, recorded for the BBC, Brian Matthews' Saturday Club, March the 12th, 1960. How great did that sound for a studio out there? BBC Maida Vale Studios in those days. I interviewed Brian in 2010, made a documentary about Eddie's UK tour in 1960, and he said how all the British musicians on that tour, which included him and Brian Bennett, the drummer who was in the Shadows, and Joe Brown, of course, they said they were just so in awe of Eddie's talents and particularly stunned by his big orange Gretsch guitar. And Brian said he remembers really distinctively, and Georgie Fame as well, he was another one. He said when Brian opened the guitar case and there was this legendary guitar in it. And Georgie Fame, if you ever go and see Georgie Fame, and he does a Ray Charles song, because he's obviously a very jazz-orientated part of his set as well, he will always credit Eddie Cochran as introducing the music of Ray Charles to the UK. And that was the song he did it on, What Did I Say? And it's great that Brian Licorice Locking played on it. The final one tonight is definitely Brian Licorice Locking on bass, The Shadows, and a great track from them. Big top 10 hit from 1963. And anyone with a long memory may recall I used this track and its title for a Sunday show I did for a radio station, a commercial station in Taunton in the late 80s and early 90s. And this was always my in and out on a Sunday night. It's ironic how things work all these years later. Here's The Shadows and my old theme tune, Shindig. talked over the end of that one. The Shadows and Shindig from 1963 with Brian Licorice Locking on bass. And hi to Dave and Jane Illingworth in Taunton and Byron and Tricia Wynn in Bridgewater. I know you used to listen to me back then. Remembering Licorice Locking, and a great player and a really nice guy. Thank you, Richard.
OK, we'll see you next week, Geoff, but before you...
Happy birthday on Wednesday, Cliff, and Carolyn Chasewater. I hope you enjoyed those two. And I hope you'll enjoy this final one. Cliff not on it. It is The Shadows, featuring Brian Locking, who passed away earlier in the week. He was a great bass player and one of the many big hits that he played on. This was a number one from early 1963, and it took over at the top of the charts from Cliff and the Shadows' Summer Holiday. So how about that? In fact, between the end of 1962 and May 63, Brian played on 4 UK number one hits, either with the Shadows or playing with Cliff. I don't think many people have done that, if at all. It was from the movie Summer Holiday. Brian appeared in that because all the Shads were in that, and they were also in the follow-up called Wonderful Life. But this is, I remember trying to learn this when I was first learning to play guitar. Didn't quite get it. The Shadows and Foot Tapper. Here's a huge Shadows number one. It's interesting, I'm looking up the stats between December 62 and May 63, not very long at all. Brian Bennett played on 4 British number one hits, 2 with the Shadows and 2 with Cliff. Here's one of them with the Shadows. Great track. This is called Dance On.
See, that's how you end. That's how you end a song, isn't it? Or well, a song in that case, but an instrumental. But
Yes.
you know, always good because I was watching it there. You know, the little countdown timer, thinking, is it going to fade or is it going to end? And it actually ended. It very good at the end.
What a
It's pretty
great
good.
track, though. It was written by Hank Marvin and Bruce Welsh, Dance On, and that classic Shadow sound. Interesting, it got to number 1 in early '63, and it knocked off the top spot Cliff and the Shadows and Bachelor Boy, so they had it pretty much sewn up at that time.
Yeah, it's irony for
That
you.
was from the movie Summer Holiday, which the late Brian Locking also appeared in. So remembering he was a great bass player. So, and happy birthday, Cliff, of course.
Oh, brilliant, lovely. Geoff, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next Sunday just after 5 o'clock. Have a good week.
Sure will, Graham. Take care and stay safe, and you at home too.
Thank you.